So the Super Mario Bros. Movie is the definition of a truly faithful-based video game adaptation, and this is really difficult for me to admit, especially as a Sega and Sonic superfan, but I have to admit, you know, Illuminations, Universal, Nintendo, they smashed it out the park with this film, especially when you compare it to the bizarre 90s live-action film, which actually made Nintendo really reluctant to not only do it with Mario, but to do it with any of their IP in terms of convert it from a video game adaptation to a movie. But I have to say, they were so successful with this one. And it's really, really interesting as the Sony email leaks have demonstrated that Sony, over the past couple of years, were pitching to Nintendo, look, let us do an animated adaptation of Super Mario Bros., which is really interesting when you think about it, as Sony and Nintendo are rivals when it comes to the video game space. But that conversation ended up not going anywhere, and I think they made the right decision in terms of partnering up with Universal Studios and Illuminations, as obviously they have just recently created Nintendo World at Universal Park, so I think it's a really great partnership now that Universal have with Nintendo. And I mean, the results speak for themselves, as despite all of the negative criticism that the critics were giving for this movie, the audience absolutely love it, and so much so that it's now officially the most successful animated movie ever from an opening weekend perspective, as well as being the most successful video game adaptation ever. Honestly, Mario has just smashed it in both the video game space and the movie space. And like I said, as a diehard Sega fan, this is really difficult for me to admit to. So now let's talk about the film. So I absolutely loved the origin storyline of Mario and Luigi. And I love the way in which it started in terms of them having a commercial in which they use their proper Italian voice in just marketing themselves. And then you realize that, you know, they're actually based in Brooklyn and New York, and they have got a bit of a New York accent, but actually they're not that successful, unfortunately, as plumbers. And I think that dog sequence in the beginning was true Illuminations through and through. And then very quickly, Mario and Luigi are transported into their video game world, in terms of Mario going over to Mushroom Kingdom, and unfortunately Luigi losing his way and going into the Dark World. And I do think that actually the rest of this movie follows suit in terms of being really fast-paced and just going through all of its material really, really quickly. And I think this is really, really brilliant, especially as, you know, it's trying to be a 4-quadrant film and really targeting the younger audience. And, you know, kids get bored really, really easily. So I think it's really brilliant that, you know, it just went from scene to scene to scene really, really quickly. And I loved it even from the beginning. You know, it just really does embrace its platform adventure aspects from the video game transported into the movie. And, you know, other video game adaptations typically try to shy away from it and just have little Easter eggs planted here and there. Whereas in this iteration, Mario just went fully into it. And not only did they embrace it, they just made it integral to the entire landscape, literally, in this movie. And it was just so fun, just seeing all of the platform adventure stuff, seeing all of the Easter eggs, all of the power-ups, all of the costumes. And it's really, really brilliant how Mario just gets better the more and more he tries various different sequences. For example, when Peach is training him how to be a platform adventurer, that sequence is really, really good, as in real life, the player gets better the more they play it, and in this world, Mario gets better the more he just runs through all of the adventures. And of course, there are loads of iterations of the Mario world in the video game space. So of course, we've got Mario Kart, which was just absolutely incredible, especially as all of the characters are able to make their own bespoke kart, which is exactly lifted and shifted from the video game. And of course, Super Smash Bros., we got to see Mario versus Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong and all of his world was just realized so perfectly. And of course, there's all those boss battles. And I thought the battle right at the end against Bowser was absolutely incredible. And of course, like I said before, the Super Mario Bros. Classic game and all of its different permutations is in this movie as well. So it was just so brilliant and fantastic how it doesn't shy away from its video game space, but if anything, like I said, just makes it so integral. And I have to say, it's really, really impressive that despite the fact that, you know, quite a lot of this movie was revealed in all of the trailer material, the third act was pretty much all kept under wraps, which is really rare, as like I said, in most trailers these days, they are revealing so much footage of the actual film, whereas this one, it was really, really brilliant, as the entire third act was just such a surprise and delight to watch in the cinema, as you don't know what to expect, and it was just so cool. And I loved all of the theme tunes. Of course, Mario is so iconic with all of its very different music and all of the different numbers that they have, and all of that was wrapped in here really, really nicely. And Illuminations just went fully into it in terms of making it so visually rich and so vibrant. I mean, the game looks absolutely magnificent as it is, but it was just such a delight to just be in this world, literally from a cinematic perspective. as it just looked so amazing. All of the character models were so iconic. The Toad World in Mushroom Kingdom was so good. Bowser's Evil Lands was so brilliant. The real world was really cool. They were just smashing it from a visual perspective. And I'm really surprised that they made this game actually really violent, really spooky, and really scary in parts as well, as certain characters almost die because of the lava, and there is a lot of awful things that Bowser is doing. And I mean, Bowser is of course the main evil villain, but he really does become that in this movie. So now let's go through all of the characters one by one. So firstly, Chris Pratt really did a good job in terms of proving everybody wrong that he is really good actually as playing Mario, as he just brought so much to this role in terms of all of the heart, all of the warmth, all of the hilarious stuff, the fact that, you know, he is feeling a little bit shy in front of Peach, and he is a growing hero. He isn't perfect in the beginning, but his drive throughout this movie, you really can see why Mario is such a beloved character. And like I said, I just feel like Chris Pratt brings all of those vibes of this character to life really well. So it does actually feel like a bit of a lift and shift from the video game into this movie. And actually, by contrast, Sonic I don't feel like is the true lift and shift. I mean, in Sonic Prime he definitely is. But in this adaptation, you really do feel like this is the Mario that you have been following for so many years. And speaking of that Mario, of course, Charles Martinet, who has voiced Mario and Luigi and Wario and Waluigi over all of these years, is in this film as well, as he is, of course, voicing Mario and Luigi's dad. And he just does such a good job in that role. And I think that was a really nice role if they were going to go with a different cast in this film to still pay respect to that brilliant voice actor. And speaking of Luigi, they didn't really forget about the Luigi character, as if anything, Mario and Luigi's relationship really is the heart and core of this movie. And Luigi is such a funny character. I feel like a lot of people actually can identify with him, especially as he is always really careful, always carrying the plumbing tools with him, is always a little bit scared. And I loved it how they flash back to when they were babies, which is of course something that we have seen in the video games too, in terms of baby Mario and baby Luigi, and you got to see them interacting from a baby perspective. And I thought what they did was really interesting in terms of Luigi being the person that is kidnapped instead of Peach all the time. And actually, because you have been following these two brothers throughout this movie from the beginning at least, it just means so much more, as you can just feel Mario's heart breaking, as it really does give Mario true purpose in terms of wanting to stop Bowser because he wants to save the life of his brother. And then speaking of Peach, I absolutely loved the job that Anya Taylor-Joy did with her, as she just voiced her to perfection. And of course, like I said, they wanted to do something different from the traditional storyline in terms of Peach always being kidnapped by Bowser. And they gave her a lot of strength, a lot of purpose as well. And she is a great monarch figure in terms of wanting to protect the Mushroom Kingdom. And she is definitely able to hold her own without overshadowing Mario, as I feel like if she did overshadow Mario, people would have been a little bit frustrated with her. But at the same time, they didn't make her a bit of a weak damsel in distress, as she is a strong character and she does educate Mario on quite a number of occasions. And, you know, she's got her own bike. She has even got her own Frozen type powers in this movie as well. So I feel like Peach was a really brilliant character in this film. Then we have Bowser, and I have to say, Jack Black does such a good job in voicing him. You wouldn't even think as Jack Black has a very iconic style in all of his live action appearances, and I love that he just fully embraced Bowser. And like I said, Bowser is a really threatening character, and you can really feel how intimidating he is, as he even kills his own people. And he is a real evil and formidable leader as a result of that, but also you do get to see the softer side of him. Like I said, he is playing a couple of iconic tunes, but also has a thirst and desire to marry Peach, which does feel a little bit old-fashioned, but actually is true to the video game storylines in terms of Bowser always wanted to try to get Peach and to be in a relationship with her, which is a little bit creepy, but like I said, is true to the video game. And also gives him even more of a reason to have a rivalry and hatred with Mario, as he can quite literally see that, you know, Peach and Mario are maybe going to get together. Toad being voiced by Keegan-Michael Key was decent. I wanted a little bit more from this character, but, you know, he was fine in terms of being an advisor and being another team member, and just always fearing, you know, is Mario going to survive, but also having a bit of a spunky attitude as well. I did think actually that they were going to do a bit of an evil thing and make Toad a bit of an evil character, as Bowser's advisor was always able to know and keep track of where Mario and them lot were, but they never explained how he was able to know this. And I thought it was going to be an unexpected twist that, you know, Toad has been the one that has been informing Bowser's men what on earth Mario and Peach are really up to, especially as Keegan-Michael Key has demonstrated that he did a really good job in terms of playing the evil fox character in Disney's live action remake of Pinocchio, but obviously they didn't end up doing that. Now let's talk about the ending. So I absolutely loved it, how they finally were able to use the invincibility power from the start, and not only did Mario use it, but Luigi used it too, which was just such a brilliant moment. And together they were able to defeat Bowser. And like I said, Mario and Luigi really were the heart and soul of this movie, so it was just so good that they were able to defeat Bowser together. And on that point, even though Luigi has so far in this film been viewed as a bit of a weak, scaredy character, I loved it how, you know, he really did step up to the plate and was able to protect Mario at first against Bowser's flames, and then together they were able to defeat Bowser. And I just thought it was a really nice moment to really respect the Luigi character too. And it was also a really clever idea in terms of feeding Bowser the blue mushroom and then shrinking him, and the only way in which he is going to get back to normal is if somebody attacks him. So I wonder who is going to do that. And I just thought it was a really nice way in which they finally ended it, in terms of, you know, Mario and Luigi trying to live in both worlds. And we of course have a bit of an end credit scene, which is a bit of a hatching of the egg of Yoshi, which is going to be so cool having Yoshi as part of this team. He is such a beloved character, and of course aids Mario on a number of different adventures, so that's going to be really, really cool. I'm hoping that we do get Wario and Waluigi in the mix too, as I love the Wario games and love the Wario character and Waluigi. I always thought that they should have made them relatives instead of being unrelated and seemingly just looking very similar to Mario and Luigi. But anyway, I think they can really add something, especially from a human perspective, in terms of being a true thwart, and maybe they are the ones that bring Bowser back, which I think could be really, really interesting. So overall, even though it is a bit of a reluctant thing to admit to as a Sega and Supersonic fan, I actually really, really enjoyed the Super Mario Bros. Movie, and I just can't wait to see what on earth they're going to be doing next. And as far as first entries go, in terms of setting up a franchise, this movie really did demonstrate how you do it properly, as usually origin storylines are a little bit of a chore and bore to sit through, whereas this one is a far cry from that, as it was just such an enjoyable movie to sit through, and they just packed in so much into a 90-minute runtime. Absolutely unbelievable, and I just absolutely really, really enjoyed this movie. And so for all of those reasons, I have to give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. Now I'd love to hear what you thought of the Super Mario Bros. Movie, so let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in my next video.